that make up this event. Here comes the start right now. You see some of the riders jumping. The red flag is out. That red flag means this is a false start. They'll have to go back and do it again. Some riders are aware of that, but a lot of them are going out onto the course, and this is going to be a psychological letdown for those who felt they had gotten a good start. Let's see what happens, Kenny Roberts.
Yeah, Jim, when the referee signaled the start, the gate malfunctioned. So that's going to be an automatic restart.
Normally the gate would drop instantaneously. You saw two bikes hung up on it. The riders who are out on the course will have to come back to start again, and we'll come back for them.
2 years ago, we created the Yamaha Specials, a revolution in motorcycle styling. Since then, we've refined these remarkable machines and refined the refinements. We considered not only the way a special looks, but the way it feels, the way it does what it's supposed to do. So when you buy a Yamaha Special, you get something very special. A Yamaha.
At California now for the second start, the restart of the first moto of the United States Grand Prix motocross. There are two motos, two separate races which make up the overall event. Each one 40 minutes plus 2 laps. The best combined finish determines the champion. And here's the start. A 150-meter burst across this straightaway to a hairpin turn and onto the course. The man who gets out of that hairpin first has a big advantage. Right now it looks like two men have come out together. Number 10 is André Bromans of Belgium. Number 17 is Jim Weinert of the United States. It is Bromans of Belgium who has the lead as they come to the first hairpin on the course. Weinert right behind him, and in third place, pressing, the defending champion, the world champion, number 1, Heikki Mikkola of Finland. So they take off on the first lap around this 1.3-mile Carlsbad Raceway course. And Kenny Roberts, the big story here at Carlsbad is a hilly course, hillier than the European courses, no place to relax.
This track, Jim, is extremely rough today. There's just literally no place, as you can see on the TV, there's no place to rest. They're always going over bumps, over holes, canyons, jumping over mud. And the heat factor thrown in today, I just don't see how these guys are going to make it, and I'm just glad I'm watching.
100-degree heat here at Carlsbad. It is absolutely oppressive, even if you're sitting on the side of the track in shorts and a t-shirt. For the guys out there in heavy leather outfits, this is really difficult racing.
Not only are the guys going to take a beating today, but what about the equipment, Jim? With this heat and the roughness of this track, I think the suspension is going to be a big part of today's race, and it may even be a big factor today.
You can see the pounding that the suspensions take as the leader, Bromans, and the man chasing him, Jim Weinert, go up the most distinguishing geographical feature of the course, the Carlsbad Freeway, straight up a steep hill and very rough terrain, then around a dicey section at the top, and down the hill again on the other side. Here, you see them plunge down the equivalent of a 15-story drop and into a hard 270-degree hairpin turn back to the left and up another hill.
Yeah, Jim, I think the downhill is where we're going to see most of our passing today. It's the fastest part of the course. There's two lines going all the way down the hill, entering into one at the bottom of the hill to go back up into the berm for the left-hander.
One of the differences between this kind of racing, Kenny, and what you do, in your kind of racing, road racing, the layout of the course pretty much determines the line, but here riders are making choices all the time.
That's right, Jim. In my kind of racing, you can show me a map of the track, and I'll show you what line I'm going to take to go around it. In GP racing, the course is smooth, it's pavement. It never changes, but here it always changes. And what the guys are looking for, Jim, is the smoothest possible line.
They've completed one lap now. André Bromans still in the lead. And there you see the battle for second place as Jim Weinert of the United States is now being chased. The man in the yellow leathers, as you see from our helicopter shot, is Mike Bell, also of the United States, and the young man who had the highest overall finish for an American here last year, third behind Heikki Mikkola of Finland and Herb Schmitz of West Germany. Weinert is trying to hold him off, but there you see Bromans coming through the leader, Weinert in second place, and look how close Mike Bell is, right on his wheel.
Boy, I'll tell you, if I was Jimmy Weinert, I wouldn't want to be chased by Mike Bell. He lives near the area, he tests here all the time, he knows the heat, he knows the track, he knows the bumps, and I think he's going to know where to pass on this track.
You See how tight that battle is for second place. Brad Lackey is the only American who rides in every event on the World Grand Prix motocross circuit, but there are a lot of Americans who ride here, and Bell just went past Weinert into second place. Jimmy took that bump too hard.
Yeah, you saw it. Bell had the line. Jimmy lost his balance in that real deep rut coming down the hill. There's Brad. He stalled his bike.
Brad Lackey apparently down in the dirt and stalled out. He was having clutch problems all morning. You can see how difficult the first 2 laps have been for him back in the pack. Look at the mud all over his leathers. And now Lackey has stalled out. So, momentarily, some of the excitement is gone for the thousands of Americans who are here to root for Lackey. But there goes Mike Bell passing Vromans and moving into the lead. He can get the inside line there. 24 on the left is Bell. 10 on the right is Vromans. They're coming down through the loop. It's dead even. And now it is Bell who has taken the lead. So an American is leading in the first moto at the United States Grand Prix in Carlsbad, and we'll be back. We're back at Carlsbad, California, and you're looking at young Mike Bell of the United States. In the 10-year history of this event, only once has an American ever even won so much as half of this race, one of the 2 motos. That was Jim Pomeroy in 1977. But now Mike Bell is trying to follow in his footsteps and score a dramatic victory in the first moto here. He's got a big lead. Back behind him, number 10, Andre Vromans is still trying to hold on to second place. Right now, though, he's under extreme pressure from the man who races this course better than anyone else. Number 4, on the right of your screen, the Dutch dentist, Garrit Wolsink. 4 times a winner in this event. Wolsink really putting the pressure on Vromans now. Trying to find a place to pass him, and there he goes. Looks like he's nosed ahead and into second place. So Garrit was annual run for the championship. Has he lost it? No, he holds the line to the outside. Temporarily looks as though Wolsink might have dropped back into third, but he now has firm command of second place ahead of Andre Vromans. Kenny, every rider must feel like there are certain courses on which he has an enormous edge. Certainly Garrit seems to feel that way here.
Well, that's right, Jim. Some tracks, you just can't lose. There's GP tracks all over the world that I have an edge on. If the bike's not right, if the tires aren't right, everything works. Just seems to work at that track no matter what happens. You just can't help to think about that today, and I'm sure that's what Garrett's thinking about.
The battle you're watching is for 6th place. The green bike belongs to number 17, Jim Weinert, who saw him earlier in the race. Number 3 on the left is Roger DeCoster, the 5-time world champion, trying to pass Weinert for 6th. And right now it looks as though he's got it. So DeCoster is making a comeback in this moto. A man who is used to making comebacks. Last year a ruptured spleen and a brush with death before the racing season. This year a broken collarbone. Some say this is his last time around at Carlsbad. I spoke to Roger and his wife about it before the race. Roger, it is written in all the motorcycle publications that you will retire from racing after this year. Is it true, and if so, why?
Why? Yeah, it's true. The reason I want to retire is I want to retire now because I don't want to be racing when I have no chance to win. And I think I'm over my peak, and it's quite normal. I'm 34. So there's a time where you have to decide, I think.
That's a very honest answer. You feel that at 34 years of age, you're not in the same competitive position, and not in the same position to win that you were in previous years. Where have things changed? What has slipped away from you?
Physically, I think I'm as strong as before, but I'm not able to hurt myself as much as I used to. Before, pain would not stop me. Now, after some injuries, I've had a serious injury last year. I've had a smaller one this year, and I don't know if I want to keep hurting myself more. I have 2 little boys and all that, and I want to be able to retire and be able to still do things.
I think after his accident last year, I've just sort of really become afraid. Although he pulled through fine, but I'll be happy to see him retire. I think he's done a lot for the sport, and he's given a lot to everyone, and I think it's time now.
So as you watch the most famous motocross racer of them all, he is in 6th place and moving up. Ahead of him, Mike Bell of the United States, still in the lead, number 24. Garrit Wolsink, number 4, is in 2nd place. Andre Vromans is in 3rd place and dropping back. And Brad Lackey has already left this moto. Mechanical problems forcing him out. He'll wait for a second chance. first of the two motos that make up the United States Grand Prix motocross, and Mike Bell, number 24, is trying to become only the second American in the 10-year history of this race to win half of it. Jim Pomeroy won the first moto in 1977. Bell is still leading in the first moto now. But there behind him in second place, number 4 is Garrit Wolsink, the Dutch dentist who's won this event 4 times. And there, in third place, the red leathers belong to number 5, Graham Noyce of Great Britain, who's the overall point leader in the World Grand Prix motocross standings right now. He is in third place, and behind him in fourth place, still moving up, 5-time world champion Roger DeCoster of Belgium. They are racing 500cc bikes. Our expert commentator, of course, world road racing champion Kenny Roberts. Kenny, you also race a 500cc bike, but that may be the only similarity.
That's right. My bike is streamlined, built for speed. These bikes are light, they're more maneuverable, and they're made for bumps. Such as you see right here, Roger DeCoster taking the outside line on Noyce. That's what these bikes are made for. That's where they work so good.
Roger DeCoster chasing Graham Noyce and trying to move into third place. Noyce, the overall point leader on the circuit, might be expected at some points during the season to have a more powerful bike, but right now DeCoster appears to have the performance edge, and DeCoster goes by him.
That's right. DeCoster's race now, this is where Roger shined over the years. It's using the concentration, being able to pick the right line, being able to change his line during the race, and he's really shining right now, I'll tell you.
DeCoster in third place. Up ahead of him, the leaders are still 24, Mike Bell, and number 4, Garrit Wolsink. Bell, only 21 years old, from Lakewood, California. He is the kind of prospect, has the kind of talent now that you would have spoken about in connection with Brad Lackey 4 or 5 years ago. Bell, 2 years ago, won a 250cc support class race here at Carlsbad, one of the preliminary races, and last year, as I've mentioned before, was the highest finishing American overall in this Grand Prix. It looks as though the heat might be getting to him a little bit, though.
The heat does look like it's wearing Mike down. He may be pushing a little bit too hard.
Just looks slack on his bike, Kenny.
He just seems a little bit lazy. I don't know. It could be equipment problem. It could be Mike just tiring out.
And there you see more evidence that he might be slowing down as the red helmet of Garrit Wolsink moves into the picture to challenge him. The tour is more wide open now than it used to be. I talked to Wolsink about that before the race. Garrit, it used to be that we looked at the World Championship race as a two-man race between yourself and Roger. Then Heikki came back and it was a three-man race. Now suddenly it seems there are 5 or even 6 men with the necessary equipment and the skill to win a World Championship. Why so much balance all of a sudden?
Because more factories stepped in. First it was only Suzuki, and Yamaha was competing but not on a high level. Then Heikki Mikkola stepped in with Yamaha. Then Honda stepped in with Brad Lackey and Noyce. This year Kawasaki stepped in with Brad Lackey, and Honda still have Noyce and Mahler. So you have 4 big Japanese factories plus some European factories. That's why there's so many riders who are able to win a race like this.
Factory support, of course, essential to big-time success on this kind of a circuit or on the road racing circuit that Kenny Roberts races. Right now, though, a bigger factor may be the 95-degree heat out on the course, as Garrit Wolsink is measuring a tiring Mike Bell to try to make the pass and go into the lead. Wolsink right on his rear wheel. You can see it there. Bell has slowed down visibly. Inside and goes by him. And Bell now drops back very quickly. So the new standings show Garrit Wolsink in first place and building a lead over second place Mike Bell. Third place belongs to Roger DeCoster. Fourth place to young Graham Noyce of Great Britain. And Brad Lackey, like a number of other riders, is in the pits waiting for the second moto. Back at Carlsbad and close to the end of the first moto now, as Garrit Wolsink has dominated this race so many times in the past, is once again the leader now, as we come down toward the end of this first of the 2 motos that make up the United States Grand Prix motocross. There is Mike Bell, number 24, who was the leader throughout most of the race, and he is going into the pits, pulling off the course rather than to ride the last lap. And there you see Roger DeCoster, number 3, who has moved into second place. So, it is DeCoster behind Wolsink as Bell has become the first and most obvious victim of heat exhaustion here today. Kenny Roberts, they're racing at temperatures that are close to, if not above, 100 degrees. What does heat exhaustion do to the body?
Well, under their leathers, they've got ankle pads, they've got knee pads. Under their jerseys, they've got shoulder pads, they've got chest protectors. That's adding to the heat problem. And what happens in heat frustration on a motorcycle, I've been through it, I think all these guys have been through it. The oxygen, you can't get enough oxygen, your muscles start to go, your train of thought goes, your concentration's gone. Once you lose that, you just keep pushing yourself to the point of collapsing.
This man is still concentrating over the Devil's Drop under the start-finish line, and Garrit Wolsink has wrapped up a victory in the first moto. You see him taking the checkered flag. So Wolsink takes a big step up toward a possible 5th United States Grand Prix Motocross Championship. And there comes Roger DeCoster of Belgium. He's never won here at Carlsbad, but he takes a big step toward a possible championship over the Devil's Drop under the start-finish line and into second place. A gutty performance in that moto by DeCoster. Behind DeCoster, Noyce of Great Britain, the overall points leader on the World Championship circuit, ahead of Heikki, Mikkola, and Lackey, finishes third. There went Noyce. And fourth place is going to belong to the first American finisher, number 33, young Chuck Son, a man who's been making a dent in the European dominance over in Europe and has been riding very well. So those are the results of the first moto, now in the most incredible element of the entire sport of motocross. They rest for a half hour and they'll go back out in this heat to do it again.
We had hoped to get a word with Mike Bell, but it's our understanding now that Bell has been whisked away to a hospital where he will be treated for heat exhaustion. Now let's return to World Cup skiing.
We'll have more Grand Prix motocross. Here's Jim Lafley and Kenny Roberts.
We're back at Carlsbad, California, where the second moto, the second of the two races that make up the United States Grand Prix motocross, has just begun. With me is Kenny Roberts, World Grand Prix road racing champion. We watch as out on the course, number 1, Heikki Mikkola, according to qualifying time, the fastest bike in the field, has taken the lead. Second place belongs to the man who won the first moto, Garrit Wolsink of Holland. And just passing 14, Rick Burgett, to move into third place is Brad Lackey, number 2 of the United States. Now let's take a look back to see what happened at the start of this moto. Kenny?
Here we are, Jim. This is it, the smoothest part of the track. This is the drag race of motocross right here. Every rider wants to be the first or second man to that first turn. Because if you're the first or second man, you can pick your line, you know where you're going to go, you have nobody in front of you, and you're not going to get tied up like you see here, Jim.
Those in the middle of the pack are at a disadvantage because they get jostled and bumped around. But on the inside, watch the blue helmet of number 1, Heikki Mikkola, as he got the hole shot and moved to the front of the pack, coming out of that hairpin turn and onto the course. We'll be back with more racing. Heikki Mikkola leading, Wolsink and Lackey chasing after this. So, United States Grand Prix motocross, Heikki Mikkola in the blue helmet. Last year's champion and the defending world champion is the leader. Garrit Wolsink, who won the first moto, right behind him. Right behind him, Brad Lackey, who sat out the first moto with mechanical problems, pressing very hard here. Where, you might be wondering, is Roger DeCoster, who finished second in the first moto. He is out. Declined to race in this moto because of heat exhaustion after his great effort in the first moto. What about Mike Bell, who led so much of the first moto before retiring with heat frustration? He is out. The heat has gotten him. It is still close to 100 degrees. It does not seem to be bothering these three men. And there goes Brad Lackey by Wolsink and into second place. Lackey moves up to challenge Mikkola, and the crowd begins to roar their approval. 40,000 on the hill, most of them rooting for the American, young Brad Lackey.
Jim, I really have to tell you the respect I have for these guys. It's 100 degrees, they're going through the holes, bumps, ruts, the mud, and look at them. The shape that they have to be in to do that is just unbelievable.
One study a few years ago offered the opinion that these are among the best conditioned athletes in the world. In fact, Brad Lackey has taken the approach this year of hiring a special physical trainer to design an exercise regimen for him. His name is Dean Miller.
What is the basic goal of his exercise program?
Well, primarily riding the new 500cc bike, it takes a lot of strength and a lot of power. So we did a lot of upper body training with Brad and a lot of leg work. So we used a lot of power building stuff. He started the program at about 165 pounds on the bench press and finished 2 months later at about 330 pounds on the bench. Also did a lot of cardiovascular endurance work with the muscles, doing a lot of repetitions at lower amounts of weight. It really worked well. He rode about 2 or 3 times a week, and he also was running 5 to 6 miles a day. It was very good and very consistent, and we developed a lot of the exercises with the weight training that simulated a lot of the things that he does on the motorcycle. And it's been excellent training.
Out on the course, a two-man battle now between Lackey in second place, Mikkola in first place. A rerun of last year's second moto, which was a battle between these two men. Both of them have an advantage over third place Garrit Wolsink because they rested during much of the first moto.
Yeah, Jim, I talked to Heikki today before the race. It seems he's still having trouble with his knee. Before the season, he got tied up with the motorcycle. In training, he hurt his knee, and because of having a lot of problems running and getting exercise enough to withstand the heat, and I think it's going to be much harder on Mikkola to go the distance in the second heat than it will be for Lackey.
Before the race, I talked to Brad Lackey about what he would do this year if he were again in the position of chasing Heikki Mikkola.
Brad, I think anybody who saw last year's race has a mental picture of you chasing Heikki Mikkola for most of the tail end of the second moto, getting very, very close and not being able to come up with that little extra acceleration to pass him. If you're in the same situation again today, do you feel you have that little extra this year that you can go around Mikkola and win?
That depends on the circumstances on which moto it was. Last year, as you remember, I broke down the first one, so even if I would have passed him, I wouldn't have won the race. I would have just got a first and then nothing, instead of a second and then nothing. So you're thinking about that when you're riding, and you lose a little bit of the urge and want to try maybe as hard as you would if it was for the overall and for the win and for more points. So if that was the case in the first moto today, or even the second moto, yeah, I think I could find a way around by him. Anyway, I owe him 1 or 2, so I'll get by one way or the other.
Right now, Brad Lackey is close and trying to choose the place to make the pass. Normally, you would expect him to do it on the uphill portion of the hill, the Carlsbad freeway. Right now, he's trying to do it in front of the grandstand, and he does. An unusual place to pass. Right at the start-finish line, you saw Lackey slip to the inside, get the line on Mikkola, and go by. So now, in the second moto at Carlsbad, the crowd is roaring as Brad Lackey has gone into the lead. Grand Prix is the 5th race on a 12-race circuit that leads to the World Grand Prix Motocross Championship. There is a young man who wants that championship very badly, Brad Lackey of the United States. He came here to this, the 5th stop on the circuit, trailing by 7 points behind Noyce of Great Britain and second place Heikki Mikkola of Finland. Right now, Lackey is headed toward an apparent victory in the second moto here at the U.S. Grand Prix, but he did not finish the first moto, which was won by Garrit Wolsink. So it is Wolsink who has the inside track toward a 5th U.S. Grand Prix championship for him. As I mentioned, this is the 5th race on the circuit. There have been 4 different winners this year. Noyce won in Austria, Lackey won in France, Wolsink won in Sweden, Mikkola won in Italy, and Lackey's victory in the second moto here, ahead of Mikkola and Garrit Wolsink, who were chasing him, will give him more points toward a possible world championship. But it is Wolsink who is going to be the overall winner. As you look at Brad Lackey from Concord, California, only 25 years old, but already a grizzled veteran of World Grand Prix motocross racing, and he has won the second moto at Carlsbad. Only the second American ever to win a moto in this event. And Brad Lackey heads immediately for the only small patch of shade he can find in the area, immediately trying to escape from the oppressive heat, which has been such an enormous factor in today's racing. Out on the course, the rest of them are getting the checkered flag. Second place in this moto goes to Heikki Mikkola, and third place to Garrit Wolsink, who rode a very smooth race behind his 2 more well-rested competitors. And that man is Bob Wright, a British rider who is being carried away from the spot at the finish line where he collapsed in heat prostration at the end of the second moto. Just one of many victims of the heat we've seen today. So, from Carlsbad, California, I'd like to thank World Road Racing Champion Kenny Roberts for working with us today as our expert commentator. The final standings in the second moto, Lackey, Mikkola, and Wolsink. Overall, Garrit Wolsink wins his 5th United States Grand Prix Championship, and second place overall goes to young Graham Noyce of Great Britain, who maintains his lead in the point standings for the World Grand Prix Motocross
Riding Championship. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. More people fly United to Hawaii than any other airline. Today's program was pre-recorded. Following our recording of the show, the season-long 1979 World Grand Prix Motocross Championship was eventually won by Graham Noyce, with Garrit Wolsink second and Andre Malabé third, with Brad Lackey as the top American finisher in fourth place.